Good morning, good night, good evening, wherever you're located. Hello everyone, it's your old man Mark Bryce. Thanks for tuning in. This is a story time video. I'm on my way to FedEx, UPS, and USPS to drop off some packages that I have here beside me, plus the ones in the trunk. So it's gonna be a good 10 to 20 minute drive. So I'm gonna drive slowly and answer a question. And the reason why I wanted to do it now is because this question is longer than expected. I was recently asked, what was the most profitable item that you ever found at a thrift store? That's a great question because I always think about it. Always. It's always on my mind and how grateful I am. Now, for those who are just tuning in, who watch my videos and car stuff and how to do it yourself and how to fix this, home repairs. Now, I run my own business from home. I buy products from China, I bring them into this country, I private label them, I buy stuff at thrift stores, I buy sneakers from people. I have clients where I sell their products online because they don't have the knowledgeable experience selling online, or they just don't have the time. So I sell it for them, and we either go 50-50. Most of the time we go 50-50 depending on the high value item and the high risk. But aside from that, I sell a lot of things online. I'm coming from experience. I used to work for a company out in New York City. I was a shipping operations manager. I sold a lot of things for them. I would import and export products from Japan, and we would sell them here in the United States. We had license for it. That is how I learned how to sell and how to buy products from other parts of the country and bring them in here. So for doing that for 17 years, I decided to call it quits, and I started doing it on my own. And that is where I am now, plus with other stuff, other revenues and other things. Well, let's go back to the story. The most profitable item that I found, easily, it happened in Goodwill Outlet in New Jersey. And it happened around COVID season. This Goodwill Outlet had just opened up. They were around for probably months old at that time. I believe they opened up in April of 2020, around COVID, when it just hit. And I remember going there with my mask on. This is how I remember it. I had to stay in line to get inside the Goodwill, and everyone that was in line had a mask, so I knew it was around that time frame. Now, when I would go to this Goodwill Outlet, I had to compete with all those people that were going there, and they were always going for clothing. At that time, I really didn't care about clothing. I was more into sneakers. Until this day, I sell things online. Reused sneakers, pre-owned sneakers, new sneakers. So I would go there, and I would always go to the section where the sneakers were. So when I went there on the third time, and this is where I found this cool items, I waited in line, but I got there a little late. So when I got there, the whole line, there was a lot of people in front of me, and by the time I got into the warehouse, the outlet, it's a big huge room with a lot of bins, and you cannot touch the bins until the workers tell you to. So you just have to stay there and wait. And I remember going in there, and there were so many people in the center of the room. That's where all the clothing were. And on the sidelines, those bins were where the sneakers were. Some had kitchen appliances, like small appliances. Some had books, some had DVDs, purses, book bags, toys. But the center was where the party was at. That's where everyone wanted clothing. And this Goodwill, they charged you by weight. So you can walk out there with a lot of shoes, sneakers, jackets at a cheap price. So I didn't mind going into that area where the sneakers were, clothing were, because there was too many people. So I said, you know what, let me stay on the line, on the side. I wanted to get into the sneaker area, but there were also so many people there. So that given day was congested with people, high traffic. So I kind of felt like I was being pushed to the side where I can find myself some space to breathe. And that space had a bin big bin that nobody was looking at. What was in that bin? It was the book section. Books, DVDs, photo albums. So I glanced at it, I was like, damn, so I'm stuck here. Now mind you, that Goodwill from my house is about an hour drive, or a little less, about 15-minute drive, 45 depending how fast I go. So I wanted to make it worth it. I'm like, I didn't come all the way here just to be pushed on the side. I might as well just browse and whatever is given to me. That was the best day. To this day, it's always playing back in my head. So when they allowed us to start looking through the bins, I had no other choice but look through that book bin where all the DVDs and photo albums. So I remember going through, it's a tall bin. As I was pushing books around, I came across photo albums. So I pushed the photo album to the side, and when I pushed it to the side, it opened up. And on the corner of my eye, as it opened up, I didn't really care what was in it, but I glanced at it, and it looked like stickers. And as I glanced at it again, I'm like, these are not stickers. And as I looked closely, they were stamps. What I thought were photo albums, they were stamp albums. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I remember flipping through it. The whole album was filled with stamps. So I put it in my cart. The next album, the next photo album, quote unquote, I looked at it, and again, it wasn't photo albums, they were stamp albums. So I took that one, and then I had more. I kept digging in, found more. I started finding folders. So now I'm curious. I opened these folders. It must have been like about 10 folders. When I opened up these folders, there were stamps, uncut stamps, factory sheets of stamps. I'm like, what the hell? And I could tell there were factory sheet stamps, uncut from the UPS or USPS, wherever. It was because when you buy something or you receive a sheet from factory, the side of that sheet has CMYK. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. It's like these squares. These are the colors that make the picture of what you're looking at. That's the machine reading how much percentage of color it needs to make that image, that design. So I knew these sheets were uncut, and it also had these little holes on each of the stamps. Because when you buy a stamp back then, I don't think they have them now, but back like in the 90s, 80s, when you would buy a stamp, the corners of the stamps or the outlines of the stamps had like little ridges, like little holes. That's because they were being cut from one to the other. So I saw all those holes, uncut, factory sheet, mint condition. I was like, whoa, grabbed everything that I can find. Then I came across these white envelopes. These white envelopes, some of them were clear, some of them were white, you can see through them. They were stamps, unused, brand new, and I'm talking about stamps from Brazil, Morocco, South America, China, South America, North America, Canada, all of these countries in these stamps. Now, when I was going through them, I didn't realize that my shopping cart was filled with stuff that had to do with stamps. I said to myself, damn, this is gonna be a heavy shopping cart. I could move it, but it was heavy. It's like if you went a week shopping at Walmart and you had a week's worth of stuff in your shopping cart, and you could just imagine how heavy it would be, especially with water bottles and all that. That's how heavy it was. And I'm saying to myself, wow, this is gonna cost a lot of money, because I remember that this location, they charge you by weight. So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna put it on my credit card. All of these stamps from the 60s, 70s, I believe some of them are a lot older than 60s. I didn't do a lot of my homework at that time, but let's continue with the story, because some of these stamps I did not know the value of them. I couldn't find it, but either way, so I'm still at the outlets. I went across, looked at some sneakers, some jackets, I put them in the shopping cart, and then I'm on my way to the line to pay, and I'm asking myself, do you really need this? Do you really want to spend a lot of money on all these stamps? You don't even know if they're worth anything. Now, I'm gonna tell you this, whoever left all those stamps in that outlet most likely was an old person, an older collector, and they passed away. And the people that went to clean out house or apartment took all their stuff and then just donated it, because there's no way some person's gonna be like, you know what, I'm just gonna donate these. This is years and years worth of collections, stamp collections. Somebody just threw away? No, somebody passed away and nobody wanted to hold the bag, so they just donated it. Because again, they look like photo albums. The albums didn't look like it said stamp collections, this, that. Most of it had, some of them did, but most of the albums looked like plain blank albums that didn't really, you know what, let me make that right, that didn't really say that these were stamp collections. And that's where the most valuable stuff comes from, when in the naked eye you can't tell if it's worth anything. And I was pushed to that section because there were so many people looking at sneakers and clothing and stuff. So let's continue with the story. I am ready to pay now. I get to the lady at the register. She takes the shopping cart, she puts it in a machine, she subtracts the weight of the shopping cart, and I'm saying to myself, damn, I'm gonna be paying like about $300 here, more if anything. And she says, I think she said something about $80, $83. I'm like, what? So I keep it cool, I give her my card. I told her, how much are just for the stamps, because in this location they charge you by weight, but the weight is different with sneakers, the weight is different with clothing, the weight is being charged different with paper. I consider stamps paper, but they charged me as glass. It was considered glass, because I remember vividly looking at that. I'm gonna find that receipt for the story. I need that receipt for the story, or else the story doesn't make sense. I remember looking at the receipt, and when I was charged for glass, I think it was charged for glass or home houseware or something like that. She said that's what they would charge you for. This was in the section of glassware. So I was like, okay, cool. I think I paid like a little under 60 or maybe about $60 for all the stamps. But for stamps, for $60, I take that any day. Why? Because I must have made, since 2000 to now, till this day, I still sell stamps, excuse me. I must have made about over 10 grand in stamps. Now, when I tell you I made over 10 grand in stamps, I don't want you to think that I made 10 grand and the 10 grand goes straight to my pocket. No. There's shipping fees, platform fees, taxes, there's insurance fees that I had to pay to get this to sell. Advertisement fees. But either way, for 60 bucks, oh man, it was the best purchase I've ever made. All of these stamps. Now, mind you, I still have stamps that I haven't even listed yet. And just because these are the older ones, I decided not to list them, and I have them in a bank. I have them in a vault. I pay monthly for this vault at this location where they keep all my valuable stuff, even my client stuff, because I sell a lot of vintage stuff. I have clients that give me their old vintage stuff that are high valued items, and I don't like keeping it around just because I don't want them to get damaged. So I rent out a location. Mind you, if you are in this line of business where you sell things and you rent, locations for your products, or even safes, that's an expense. You can mark that at the end of the year, an expense for yourself. So just letting you know. So I have stuff that I haven't even sold yet, and I'm gonna keep it until one given cloudy, rainy day. I'm gonna look into it and see how much they're worth, or take them to an appraiser to find out how much they're worth. But since then, from 2020 to now, I'm still selling. I sold a lot. I'm gonna take photos of what I do have remaining. Now, a lot of people from China and Texas buy my stamps. Just to let you know how much these sheets are. Remember when I told you that I found folders? Each folder must have had about 8 to 10 sheets. And that one sheet, like the packs, the bundle sheets that I put together, I sell them for like 500 bucks. And people from China are buying them. People from Texas are buying them. I had this one nice collection of 1960, I can't remember the year. It was the Olympics, and I believe it took place in China. And somebody from China bought that collection from me, and they paid 500 bucks. Here and there I get people who ask, hey, do you mind selling this for 150? Do you mind selling this for 200? I say no, because the lowest I can go is 300. But I have sold stuff for like 350 because somebody just gave me a long explanation why they could only afford 350 and blah blah blah. And sometimes I say yeah, because I have to keep in mind I already made my money, you know. I already made my money. This is just, I'm at the UPS store now, that this is just profit now, and I still have a lot of stuff to sell. But either way, that is my story of the most profitable items that I found at a thrift store. All right, everyone, this is Mark Bryce. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.